What's going on, guys? Back with another video, and today we're doing yet another album review. Really excited to be doing this. My second one. So we did a Steve Vai one. I believe it was last week when I put the video out. Might have been 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure. Schedule's been crazy lately, but we're checking out Korn's Requiem today. I did a full album reaction, including just the other day I put out a reaction to I Can't Feel, the bonus track. Had a lot of fun checking it out. Hope you guys checked out the videos. If not, they're on the channel. You can go back and watch them. But I wanted to sit down, give a more concrete overview of the whole album, as well as my thoughts on the whole thing, because I felt like I didn't really do enough justice to it while listening to it. Because I feel like, Requiem continues with songwriting similar to the last three albums since Head returned to the band. It's still got a kind of similar vibe to them, but the production of this album is different from the last few. Guitars have a little more high end, bites a little more, and that's not this, like, usually when I say this has got a lot of bite to it, I say it as like unequivocally, it's like a better thing than something that doesn't or has less quote unquote bite. But I was a massive fan of Nick Raskulinec's production of the last two records, but it was just a different sound of this, and that's the only way I could describe it. It's got high end, but it's not ice picky. And Chris Collier absolutely knocked it out in the park on this one. I was a little worried when they were moving away from Nick Raskulinec, because he's had fantastic work. He's become one of my favorite producers. I mean, he does Alice in Chains. He did two Deftones records, some of my favorites, Diamond Eyes and Koi no Yokon, and then he's also done Korn records. So great stuff. If you're a longtime fan of Korn, I think this album, you'll like it. It might take some time to grow. I mean, it took some time to grow for me, because I'm not going to lie. When I listened to it for the first time, and you could probably tell through my reactions to it, was like, it wasn't necessarily something I immediately clicked with. I mean, I liked it. It was great stuff, but it wasn't something I was like, yeah, this is something that's, going to be in my rotation of something to listen to for the next couple of weeks. But I don't think it's going to pull any new fans. But this one definitely grew on me. And, maybe, new fans, if they give it the time of day, will like it. But I think if they're just, first listen, aren't drawn in by it, they're not gonna stick around. But that's, there are albums like that from bands that, aren't necessarily gonna push the boundaries or be the most commercial thing. They're gonna be there for the fans, and the fans are gonna appreciate it, and that's what the record's meant to be. And I think Requiem does that absolutely perfectly. Going track by track like we normally do. Starting with Forgotten. This was one of the singles. Really, really good. I absolutely love the verses. They nail. It's a vibe that they kind of go back into throughout the record, of this kind of like eerie, nice, clean guitar work during the verses. And whatever sound they do, it's probably Brian playing it. It sounds like a lot of his backing tones that he's had for the past couple records, and even going way back into when he was originally in the band before he departed. But this seems like an extremely refined version of it. Like, there's something about this record where that tone, it sounds different. It sounds like it did before, but like I said, it sounds like a more refined version of it, if you ask me, at least. The opening riff, very infectious, easy to get stuck in the head. I think the chorus is a little weird, and I think it's where it initially lost me. But after, some listens, I'm coming around to it. Still not quite 100% on it, just because the melody, not even the melody, it's the harmony that's really weird. But it's a classic Korn thing. And like I said, I think it's just going to take a while for me, and maybe for other people to come around to. Let the Dark do the rest. Has a really nice bouncy riff to it. It's another, Korn song I think the fans are going to appreciate. Start the Healing, though. This song instantly went into my music rotation as soon as it came out. It's definitely the most commercially accessible song, and for good reason. It was the lead single. And if any song is going to pull new listeners in, it's this one. This one had me really excited because, normally people associate stuff that is commercial with a bad thing, but they absolutely nailed fantastic vocals while still keeping the signature Korn sound. And also, I think one of the things I most appreciated about this song, it didn't, like many of their other songs, which I'll come back to this in a second, it didn't focus around the key of A. It was C sharp. And, even though tons of bands out there have done C sharp, Korn doesn't really switch up keys that often, so it's nice to see that happen. Lost in the Grandeur. Another song that kind of instantly hooked me when I listened to it. You could tell when I listened to it, and I put the video out for it. The opening guitar riff, that back and forth, slow and fast pace. It's got a lot of groove to it, and I think it's one of the cooler riffs on the record. That's for sure. Disconnect, again, kind of going back to that thing that Forgotten had. The really cool verse seems to be a focus of the album. That they've got these really nice verses that they focus on, which is really cool. I mean, it's nice to see that. And, the lyrics, Jonathan Davis goes deep on it. And that's, throughout the whole record. I mean, he's had a lot of experiences in life. If you, listen to his life story and whatnot, especially the last record, it's very sad, but there's a lot to pull from for music. Hopeless and Beaten and Penance Thesaurus. I'm going to pull these together because these two aren't really like, there's nothing stand out that I could be like, that's what makes this track this, and that's why, yada, yada, yada. To me, they're classic Korn tracks. Fans are going to love them. Might be a little weird for new listeners, but they get the job done. They're good tracks. I'm not saying like they're boring or not worth listening to. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just not saying that it's like anything that, I can really pull something out of that's not going to be just like the Korn sound. I think that's what these songs do well, and they've got their place on the record for sure. My Confession, awesome groove, very interesting guitar part. I like the wah usage. I think it's something that really kind of made this track stand out from the rest of them. Has an eerie sound to it. Again, kind of going back to like the Forgotten thing. It's like they've kind of got this eerie sound throughout the record, and it's captured very well. And I think this song kind of shows that. And most of the record seems to pedal that, and I think it's a cool vibe. And with the whole Requiem theme, it fits. Worst is on its way. I still think they should have The Worst is on its way in the title, but that aside, definitely one of the most reminiscent of old school Korn. Longtime fans, I think, will be instantly into this. I mean, I knew I was instantly just like there when I listened to it. And for good measure, I'll throw in the bonus track in here, I Can't Feel. Korn has a history of fantastic B-sides. This one's no different. In my reaction, I said that, I didn't know why this one didn't make the album, but upon listening to the album more and more over the past couple days and listening to this track more and more, I kind of see why. Because I've come to appreciate the other tracks on the album more, and I now rank them above I Can't Feel. And I can also see where the, repetitive nature of the song can be a little old and not make it the best for a true album track. That being said, it's a great song, and one of the things I still appreciate about this that I did in the review, again, switching up the keys, which I'll get back to that in a second. Standout track for me, hands down, Start the Healing. Best track on this record, unequivocally, and I think it will be an instant classic and the main staple in Korn set lists for years to come. Rating, as far as I'd give it, 7 out of 10. It's, again, a 7 out of 10, so I know some people can get away with ratings. I almost consider not doing ratings in these, but, I'm going to do them anyway. 7 out of 10 for me. Fantastic album. Not pushing the envelope, not going out of any, new territory for a band, but it's still a great record. I mean, I would rate this below some of their older stuff, and I'd rate it below, especially the last record, The Nothing. That's honestly, I can probably say, one of my favorite Korn records. There's just so much emotion you can feel behind it. I feel like also just that it has one of the most killer opening tracks, and it's a shame that they don't play it live more, but Cold. So that would be something like, just for reference, I'd put it probably like a 9 out of 10 for that. Overall, it's a great record. Korn is still firing on all cylinders, and I've mentioned I would get back to this. One thing, and I'll throw this in there, I don't do this for every review, but going forward, what would I like to see from the band? They're working on a new album, or have worked on a new album a little bit before they started touring. I wish that there was more key diversity. A lot of times when bands use one tuning, they kind of tend, especially if they're ones that will pedal the low string a lot, just hearing the same key over and over again, it gets a little repetitive, and you can get stale in the tooth. I'm not saying that Korn is like gonna fall off a cliff because they continue to use the same key over and over again. I still think they've got great songs on these records. However, I was really excited like when Brian first came back to the not even when Brian first came back to the band, when the dubstep record came out. That entire thing was B standard. So even though tons of bands have used B standard, again, it's Korn doing something different. I was excited for that, and even in the record, the paradigm shift, when Brian first came back, there was also a couple B standard tracks in there. They also were using 8 strings at some point, and I was kind of a little bit bummed out when they wanted to use the 8 string on 2 records ago, and the Serenity of Suffering, and that got nixed because I mean they were able to do a dubstep record. I know it wasn't the most popular thing in the world, but it was still them branching out of their sound and doing something different. Had some great tracks in there, and I feel like an 8 string, even though they quote unquote sounded like Meshuggah, some of the demos, I feel like they would still sound like Korn, and I still feel like it'd be a little closer at least than dubstep. So hopefully that's something that they explore more in the future. More B standard or A sharp standard or G sharp, whatever they've used in the past, or even going to the 8 strings. I think would be really cool. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm always interested to hear what you guys think about these tracks and what you think about my thoughts. And yeah, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications so you don't miss a video when I put one out. Like the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.